Hello, friends. Welcome back to Living Your HD with Brandi. And today marks an amazing first episode, which will now become a monthly episode. I had the opportunity to share the stage with my new, really good friend. I swear we've been friends like from a previous life at this point. Like we go way back. I'm not even gonna say new friend. Heather Fisk. Hi, love.
Hello. I was trying so hard not to giggle through that.
You can giggle all you want. That is the beauty of this podcast. Like, it is just two fabulous women having a great conversation over coffee, tea, water, could be wine at some point. Who knows? But we're just like shooting the shit about all things astrology, human design, gene keys, life, dating, relationships, careers, whatever.
all the things. Exactly. Taylor Swift dance parties.
We're gonna have to integrate that into at some point. A little Taylor Swift. Yeah, I'm here for that. For those of you who have the pleasure of watching this on YouTube and seeing our beautiful faces, hello.
We're beautiful, stunning, and smart.
Exactly. And for those of you listening on the podcast, on the audio, thank you for joining us. We're happy that you're here, and let's get started. Like, I know I've been waiting for this for like the past 6 months. I think you've only known about this dream of mine for like 2, maybe 3.
But like eagerly anticipating this moment to happen.
Yes. So just a brief history. I started this journey with human design in February of this year, and it has snowballed into this thing that I could not have imagined. But along this journey, I've met some incredible people, and my passion for human design has just grown into other things as well. So with that came gene keys, then astrology. I'm starting to like look a little bit into tarot cards. Like it just keeps going. Like this, it's literally a bottomless rabbit hole.
Oh yeah. No, it's like when you're on Instagram and like hours go away and you've like fallen down the K-hole. That's what this is. You found your gateway and now you're just in the cosmic pit that never ends. And like pit sounded derogatory in a way, but I meant it in such like the black hole, universal black hole, where there's totally white light.
Yes. And that's the important thing. Like I want all of this to be where it's encouraging, it's empowering. And like I know our goal here is just really to set you up for success. We're not here to put you in a fear state.
Oh yeah, no.
It's just the opposite. It's all about setting you up for success, to be the best version of you possible, and to have some fun. Like just literally, life out there is crazy enough. Let's have the 30, 40, 90 minutes here be the best time of your entire day.
Oh, amen.
Can I get
I always say that, like, I always say that all of this is just information, and information empowers you to make aligned choices, aligned actions in your life. Yes. And that's what getting into this work. And I think every single person who has delved into astrology, looked into tarot, human design, whatever tool and whatever avenue modality you've gotten into, it's the beginning of your awareness of the fact that like, everything is just information. Everything is changeable and nothing means anything unless we place that meaning and emotion onto it. So bringing your awareness to things, even if they're uncomfortable, it's just bringing your awareness to it so that you can shift it if you want to. But you have to bring your awareness. You have to gather that data point if you want to make a decision, right? Like, and that's the power of all these tools. It helps you to gather the information and then be able to use it in a neutralized way so that you can feel empowered in what it is that you want to create in your life. You become so aware that you can create, you can do absolutely anything you want, but you have to gather the information. You have to gather the data first to give yourself the empowerment to pursue it.
Absolutely. And I feel like because with human design, we talk so much about refer back to your strategy and authority, check in with your strategy and authority, make sure you're following your strategy and authority. But for majority of the types, that includes making sure you have all the information, right? So that you can take that minute or sleep on it or whatever it is and process and then make that decision, right? So I feel like we're doing part of the work for you by like putting it all together in a beautiful bow and presenting it to you. But you're so right. It's just more information. It's another perspective, another way of looking at things so that you truly feel like you are making the best choice for you, whether it's in that moment or period, right? This is the best choice for you following your strategy and authority.
Absolutely. Oh, I'm just obsessed with it. I love it so much.
I know, I know. So Heather, okay, your turn. You tell the audience about you and like what, oh, I asked you last time, like what's your magic, your superpower, but like when it comes to astrology and all things astrological, you know, what's your history with it?
Oh my Lord. Okay. Astrology is where the black hole started for me. I have always, for as long as I can remember, had an interest and a love and appreciation for astrology. For as long as I can remember, I was looking up horoscopes, and a lot of it was, you know, kind of secretive or private at first, and then like presenting it in kind of like a jokey social way, like grabbing the newspaper and reading everybody's horoscopes and like laughing along with everyone, but me secretly like harnessing all that information so that I could get to know people better. But my Granny and my aunt, they're both astrology nuts. Like everything was about astrology. I actually have this book here by Linda Goodman, Love Signs.
Oh, wow.
I inherited this book from my Granny, and she actually had it flagged, like she had post-it notes all through here. And every single time that someone in her family got into a relationship, she would look up, because it's like this like huge book that has every romantic relationship broken down by the sun signs in the male and female version. So like my Granny was a Cancer woman and my papa was a Leo man. So in the book you would look up Cancer woman and Leo man, but there would also be Cancer man, Leo woman, and it goes through the whole thing. So she would flag everybody's relationship and she would read them. And so when people would talk about their relationships with her, like she would have that information, and then she would just like sprinkle little tidbits and like give some little forecasts. And everyone in my family was like very open to hearing it, but no one really took it that seriously, except for my aunt, who like rode hard for it. And same with my Granny, like both of them. And everyone just kind of like took it as like a cute interest or a cute hobby that they had. So I always felt like that was really where like I think the gateway really opened for me, and I was really so interested, but I didn't put too much emphasis in it and follow too deeply in it, aside from my private world where like I would look up everybody's horoscope. Every single boyfriend I had, I'd be like on the internet, or like I remember at one point in time there was like when you get like book orders, and like in school you would get like the Scholastic book order sheets and you could fill them out. There was like a something about like dating signs, like compatibility and stuff, and I like begged my mom to order it for me, to let me have it. And I would like read it privately and go through like everybody's relationships, my own relationships, and being like, oh no, like I'm like attracted to an Aries, it's never going to work out. My first serious boyfriend was a Taurus, and I was like, okay, this can work. Cancer and Taurus, that's a real comfortable compatibility. It's something that I have always like in my private world held on to and really put a lot of emphasis on, but didn't really learn how to actually use it for myself until much later into my 20s, and starting to use it as a forecasting tool. So that came into what I do now a lot with astrology, which using like transit astrology and paying attention to what the current energies are, what I have found since discovering human design is that when it comes to understanding myself or understanding other people on an individual level, human design is the tool that I want to use for that, because it just is so incredibly on the nose and it's easy to understand. And it's just like, it's so specific, like in a very shocking way. Whereas astrology, there is such an art and science to it, that it can go in so many different directions. So I always had kind of a hard time with my natal chart because there's different variations. I'm much more aligned with my chart if I read it in whole sign, which also kind of leads into my love for transit astrology, because we tend to read transit astrology under whole signs. So that just makes sense for me. I never really responded that closely to my natal chart under Placidus. So like, it's just things like that just kind of make it a little more ambiguous. So when I found human design, like on an individual level, it just makes so much sense to me. But on like a day-to-day, I'm planning and using this information to set up myself for success. Transit astrology is just gives me life to be able to talk about and to learn and to share with people.
I love that. Yeah, pretty, I would say pretty quickly in my journey into human design, I've heard about transit and I didn't even know what it was. I was just like, that sounds really interesting. And I immediately dove into it and I was like, this is amazing. Like I can figure out or be told, you know, what days and what's happening and kind of like forecasting what's going on so that I'm not like shocked or not sideways when I'm suddenly acting differently. Like, you know, it's just, again, another way to prepare yourself, to prep yourself.
Oh, absolutely. Like knowing when that like just certain things are going to happen, like simply put, like we were just talking about Mercury retrograde before we came on here, just understanding when Mercury retrograde is going to be hitting and understanding that there's the retrograde period before and after. So you can be like, okay, really watch my communication, really catch myself if I'm like starting to gossip a lot. Maybe I should double check my emails or make sure that like I keep my liquids away from my technology because I'm gonna knock it over and I'm gonna fry my laptop.
True story. Yes.
There was September
as you moved your cup. Don't worry, folks. It's not happening right now. We're just
so diligent and keeping like I've been burned so many times by Mercury retrograde and like the liquid spilling and knocking it over that I'm usually so diligent not having any liquids on my desk, because there is September 2021 during our Mercury retrograde there, I spilled liters of water during that 2-week period.
Oh, no.
Because I was just being so reckless. I was moving too fast. I was grabbing, like I had like one of those Starbucks cups and I would grab it from the top and then the lid would come up. I spilled an entire 20-ounce Starbucks cup all over the front console of my car. And it's just like, I can't get mad at anyone but myself. So every time I would spill it, it would always be a full cup. And it was always at 20 ounces at a time because I was drinking out of this cup.
Oh my gosh.
And I would just like, when will I learn? And I like one of the last times that I did it, like I would knock it over and it would like almost every time it was the front console of my car or it was on my phone. And I was like, I literally stopped on the last one that I did it. And I was like, when will I learn?
Ding, 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 ding.
And then I was like, this is it. Like, this is my moment where I just have to be very self-aware and understand that I need to move slower and I need to keep the liquids away. And I maybe need to change the cup that I'm using because I'm not responsible enough to use like snap on top of the cup.
Okay. So then were things better after that?
Yeah, I stopped spilling liquids. I changed the cup. I was just very conscientious and just slowing down. And I was consciously thinking about it. I mean, like, okay, where am I putting this liquid down? Where is my technology? Let's not have them be close by each other. Let's just expedite this process. And since then, so it's been over a year, and I can say very rarely do I ever spill water anymore.
I love it. I love it. Okay. And so the coach in me wants to be like, so Heather, how we do one thing is how we do everything. Where else in your life were you moving too quickly? Not
And
being mindful.
the answer was everywhere. So it became a moment where it was really having to remind myself and recognizing that pattern in myself, being like, I speed through life. I need to stop and smell the roses and just be more present.
Yes.
And then I had shortly after that watched a series with Dr. Joe Dispenza, and he had a segment, or like it was on Gaia. And it was a whole episode that was basically him just talking about the generous present moment. And I was like, I don't
Ooh.
think I've experienced a generous present moment in my entire life, because I'm speeding through it, jumping from one thing to the next, trying to accomplish as much as I can. So
Yes.
it became a self-awareness moment for me to just start looking at my life, being like, okay, why am I feeling like I need to speed through life? Why am I feeling like I need to be super productive? And like, how can I start shifting that for myself? How can I set up these structures? And these are the gifts of what you give yourself when you allow yourself to understand the energy of the moment and allow yourself to do that self-exploration, to find those data points and get curious. That's all it is. I could make it mean a whole bunch about me.
Right.
Or I could say, okay, well, this is where I'm at. This is my baseline of my moment. This isn't how I want to continue living, because this is absolutely infuriating to constantly be spilling water everywhere. So let's do something about it.
I love that.
It is as simple as that.
I love that. I love that you actually just brought that up. And the actual phrase, the generous present moment, because in human design, sorry, Gene Keys, I just started reading one of his books, Richard Rudd. It's called Contemplation. And so I feel like that's his version of it, where he talks about how like the beauty of Gene Keys is that it's teaching you patience. It's teaching you to honor the pause, you know, those moments where you can slow down, contemplate, reflect, in the versus just speeding through life like we normally do, you know, or we're constantly distracted and not giving ourselves that break where we can actually sit and just think, you know, and process. And like how simple it can be, like just versus, you know, in your car, you're driving, you get to a stoplight. What do? We pick up our phone. We've got like a minute until the light changes and we're checking to see if we got an email or a text or who just posted on Instagram. Instead, take that minute and just sit. Just think about breathing. The light changes and now you go about your day. And just like what a difference those small minute moments in your day actually do, because they compound.
Big time. And I want to leave everyone with this gift, which is what I do when I hit a stoplight: perform. This is your opportunity to have a concert. I am 1,000% the person who pulls up to, like, I'm full on dancing and belting out a song at a stoplight. And I hope that someone sees it and it puts a smile on their face. I actually recently was, I was in a deep, after Beyonce released Renaissance, I was in a deep,
don't get me started.
Beyonce had a chokehold on me for at least 2 months, probably right up until Taylor dropped her album. And I was in full performance mode. I cannot for the life of me remember what song it was, but I was all in. And I got home and I opened up Instagram, and a former colleague of mine from a couple of years ago DM'd me saying, "Was that you dancing in your car that I just saw?"
Oh my God.
And then
serious?
Yes. And he said, he's like, "That was amazing. Thank you for giving me that." It's like, never stop. And I was like, you know what? I made him laugh. I made him smile. He, like, someone could be having a bad day, but looking over at the car and seeing somebody just going full out and having so much fun, you can't be mad at that. You have no choice but to be happy. And so that's a gift that you get to leave. My dad, when I started driving, my dad's biggest fear was like texting and driving and just like his daughter in a vehicle. Like that, I can't imagine what a parent goes through when that happens.
Yeah.
And so he was this was also like before like we had cell phone laws with cars. This was back in the day where like you were texting, you were talking on the phone. There were no laws introduced at this point in time. Like just to make sure that everyone understands how old I am. I don't know why I felt the need to really preface that. But
It's all good. It's all good.
my dad, I remember him saying this, and I'm so thankful that he did, because I've never really been too much of somebody who's like on their phone while they're driving. But he always said to me, nothing is so important that it can't wait for you to at least pull over.
That's really good. That's
and
so
I've
true.
taken that. It's so true. And I've taken that. And as I've gotten older, it has been something that I bring more and more to my life. And actually, after I watched that episode with Dr. Joe Dispenza, I find that that's like a mantra that I hold myself to allow myself to not have to be constantly checking my emails, to not constantly be like scrolling on Instagram or trying to play with the algorithm or checking emails or whatever else that I'm like feeling like I need to do. Like nothing is so important that it can't wait a little bit until 100%. I'm done doing whatever it is that I need to do in this moment for myself. And so it's helped me to be able to, because I was like a chronic multitasker. So that's been something that's really helped me to be able to focus on one thing at a time and to allow myself to put in structures in my life, like using the do not disturb or having my phone, like the settings that you can have for your phones, like basically off on certain hours. So that I have to, if I go into an app, it's like, are you sure about that?
Yep.
Honor your boundaries.
I just converted to Apple from Android about 2 years ago. And I was like an avid Android fan. I could not understand Apple people. There was like, you couldn't convince me. You couldn't pay me to convert. I finally did out of necessity. Haven't gone back since. And I freaking like, that's what I love most about the iPhone, because it has that focus setting. And I can literally tell it, okay, between these hours, do not send me anything. Do not beep. Do not vibrate.
I don't
do not let a call come through. Exactly. And you're right. It's made the biggest difference. The biggest difference.
Yeah. So if I could, I'm going to give that to you guys. Seek the generous present moment. Nothing is too important that it can't wait for you to just pull over and perform at a stoplight.
Yes. Writing it down. My handy notebook. Oh my goodness. Okay. So with all that in mind, what do you have for us? Like, let's get into some astrology.
Yes. So I'm super excited about this with my deep love of transit astrology. This is what we're going to be bringing every single month. We're going to do a little forecasting of what the month ahead looks like so that you can use this information as you will to better prepare yourself through whatever it is that you're bringing into your life and whatever it is that you're working on, just bringing some awareness to the energies that's going on out there.
I'm doing a happy dance. For those of you who are listening to the audio, you can't see, but I'm totally doing a happy dance because my dream is coming true.
All right. Well, we're going to start with the energy that we're moving into December with, which is the gorgeous energy of Sagittarius.
Oh, sorry to interrupt. Before you get started, I just want to let the audience know too. I am diving into this, but I'm still very much a newbie, like many of you might be where you are when you're listening to this. So I am 100% inviting you to send in questions. You know, if there's something on your heart after you listen to this, send in questions. If you already have thoughts about what's happening next month and you want to get a head start, send us questions. My role in this is to listen and to learn just like you. Whatever questions come up while Heather is speaking, I'm going to trust that there's someone out there who has the same question. And that's why I'm asking it.
Oh yeah.
But I am very much a student here and observing and listening and learning all of this and being able to ask the questions that you aren't able to right now. So
Oh, and isn't that just the thing? Like, aren't we all just students?
exactly.
We're all
Love
learning.
Okay, I'm a quiet student now. Go ahead.
We'll see about that. Okay, so we are beginning December off with the energy of Sagittarius. So Sagittarius season runs from November 22nd till about December 21st. It's ruled by the planet of Jupiter, which is probably my favorite planet. It is, I refer to Jupiter as like the lottery ticket planet.
Yes, I love Jupiter. Oh
Jupiter
my
is
gosh.
just, it is stunning energy. I love it so much. It's so abundant and expansive. And she's a good time gal, that Jupiter. She is a good time gal.
I just want to also say that we are filming this on a Thursday, which is
Yes,
ruled by
Jupiter Day.
Jupiter Day. I loved your
That
story
is
that you
true.
posted earlier. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Abundance.
We're just calling it all in.
Totally.
So Sagittarius is a fire element. It has a positive polarity and it has a mutable energy. And this means that Sagittarius really shows up with a more upbeat, extroverted energy, looking for stimulation through external interaction. So it's not so much of like an internal seeking sign. That's what the energy is. They want to be out. They want to be with people. They want to be experiencing things. And it marks the ending of a season. That's what the mutable energy is. It marks the end of a season. So in this time of year, it's marking the end of fall. And with that kind of comes this vibe of being more flexible and adaptable to change. It's not a sign that is stuck in its ways. It's open to being flexible and malleable and changed and kind of ebbing and flowing with what is happening.
I love that.
Yes.
And just when you were saying how it's, it's an upbeat, external, extrovert energy, it's like, that's perfect because that's the holiday time. It's the holiday season, we're going to be out amongst people celebrating, being very festive and happy, hopefully during this time. So that makes total sense.
If you think about, especially in the US, like Thanksgiving, Black Friday, it's when all the Christmas parties happen, everything leading up to Christmas time. Like this is our most social time of the year, really. And the more that you get into things like astrology, you understand that there really are no coincidences in this world. Like everything is explainable. There is a reason for it. And that's it. Like there is absolutely no question as to why we are so social and like feeling so energized to be out and about and like shopping and exploring, like meeting new people, going to parties and having a good time. It's Sag.
That makes sense.
It's Sag energy. So the spirit of the season really is optimism and forward looking. It's a very like opportunistic. Hope is like a big theme that runs through it. Sagittarius is what I call the cosmic wanderer. It sees the world as its home. And that's, again, like if you get into the root of the holiday season, it is about loving one another and really seeing everybody as one, as humankind and not so segregated. It is about that expansion, and that is the true spirit of the holiday season. It also has this craving for expansion. And it wants to do this through like travel and education and philosophy and religion. So again, this is a time of year where we see people really getting back to our roots and thinking. And a lot of people feel this pull back to religion or exploring religion or seeking something that has that fulfillment, like religion, like philosophy, like things like astrology or like anything that's sort of mystical, where you have something where you can really lean into and can bring people together. We want to find our covens, right? That is a whole part of what Sagittarius is really out here looking for. It wants that connection. It wants to be challenged. It wants to be stretched. It's like forever wanting to experience new things. I dare you to find a Sagittarius who's like set in like, I know this and I'm good with knowing now. Sagittarius is always having an evolution, always having a new era. It's on a mission to seek higher understanding and try to discover the meaning of life while recognizing that it will never find it because it's in constant evolution.
So if a person has their rising, for example, sign, wait, is that, no, that's not right, is it?
Yeah, rising in Sag.
Okay, so yeah, if their rising is in Sag, do they also experience these traits, or is it only specific if that is your sun sign?
No, any placement that is in Sagittarius will have these sorts of traits in whatever element that placement's coming up. So for the example of a rising in Sagittarius, the rising really speaks to like your more superficial level of self. It's like the front facing, or how people would describe you immediately meeting you, how you would come off that way.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So there's like, in astrology, we look at your personality under the 3 layers, what we call the big 3, which would be your sun, your moon, and your rising. Your sun is like the core identity of who you are, your true presence and true personality. Your moon is more of like your deeper shadow self, the more private self, the self that you may not even know because you haven't been ready to experience yet. And you'll only show people who you really trust. And then your rising is like that first impression.
Wow. Okay. That's crazy. That's wild.
Yes.
So is this kind of what you're talking about, how it can be, astrology can still be very abstract in a way compared to human design, because there's so many, you really have to look at so many other things.
Yes. And really, like, there's 12 planets, 12 signs, 12 houses. And to pull the meaning, like if you are really looking at like the meaning and like keywords of each one, there's like hundreds for each one of the pieces of it, right? Like, so it can be, it's really looking at, it gets much more complicated in looking at like where the placement is. And when we say placement, we mean sign, planet, house, and then how each one of those placements interacts with the other placements in your chart. So when we look at your chart, like there's like a 1 in 4 million chance that you have that chart. Like it's like, you like, it is so rare that somebody else like has a chart that is similar to yours or the exact same chart. Like it's just not going to happen. You're completely unique in that way. But there is such an art to the synthesis of explaining that chart that like you can have your chart read by like 100 different astrologers and you will have like different interpretations from each and every one of them, because they're also reading through their chart, right? So their synthesis and their connection with astrology and their experience with it is like helping them to guide through that synthesis that they're putting together.
I feel like in a way, human design is very similar to that. I mean, I've had my design read by a few different people, and it's been very interesting what one will pick out versus the other. And maybe it's just more of a focus and also the lens that they're looking at the chart through, or the design.
Yeah.
Very cool. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. What I like about human design is like the gates are the gates.
Right. It doesn't change.
It doesn't change. But like when we talk about like Sagittarius rising, like my interpretation of like a Sagittarius rising could be quite different from what somebody else's interpretation of it. And even my interpretation of it could change as I start to put together the pieces of the rest of the chart. Because you're playing with like so few pieces, the interpretation and the flow of it is just so, there's so much art to it.
Wow. So cool.
It's really, really interesting and really cool. And that's like, and it changes too. Like the way that you interact with your chart does change as you get older and you have life experiences, you're growing as well. So some of the things that may come up as hiccups for you when you're younger, or like some of your aspects, like my chart, when I look at my natal chart, I've got a lot of squares in my chart. which means I have a lot of tough aspects. Almost everything in my chart is like fighting with itself. So I did have like a very
Oh my
tumultuous
goodness.
upbringing as I was trying to figure this all out. And looking back on it now, like I understand that these pieces of me have been figuring out how to work with each other, and they've gotten, for the most part, to a place where we understand how to work with with each other. But it didn't when I was younger. So when I look at my chart and I look at those squares, I look at them, they show up a lot differently now because I've learned how to work through them. I've learned those lessons. So there's different powers that come through them now.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so not to take us too far off, but I'm just curious now because you mentioned that. Does that also have anything to do with like your Saturn return? What is it, Uranus opposition?
Yeah. Oh
Like
yeah.
those key points in everyone's lifetime.
Yeah, all of that comes into play as well. And like the times in which you're like things are coming up for you in your chart when things are more activated. And that's one of the things with studying transit astrology really helps with, is because you'll know where to look in your chart to notice what area of your life is going to be enhanced by the energy of what's going on. So like when we look at like, we'll get into talking about the full moon and new moon in later in this episode. But when we look at it, we'll say full moon in Gemini. Well, the reason that we want to recognize that the full moon is happening in Gemini is because you'll want to look what's going on in your natal chart in Gemini, what planets are going on in there, what house is ruled by Gemini in your chart, so that you can figure out what area of your life is going to be like the spotlight is it going to be on during that full moon. What is that you're going to be releasing or changing or that kind of thing.
I'm so excited. Okay.
It's such a powerful tool.
It really is. It really is. Okay,
so traits for Sagittarius. Sag, they are extraordinarily honest. I think that it's because they just do not have the time of day to coddle anyone's feelings or anything. Like they've got stuff to do. They are not standing still. They are on a mission. They are moving and grooving through life. So they're just going to be honest with you and cut to the chase. They're also very outdoorsy, which makes so much sense for them because they want to like have that space to be able to roam and be free and experience things. And they can't do that confined in a home. They're like the eternal optimist. They love freedom and they're totally adventure seeking. They're so incredibly spontaneous. It makes me feel very unsettled. They're great visionaries and they're extraordinarily independent. And some of the archetypes for Sagittarius are like teachers. The gypsy is a big archetype.
Really?
For Sagittarius. Oh yeah. Yeah. They like absolute transient, loving to just wander the world, gurus, yoga teachers, comedians, multidisciplinary, like health practitioners. They love to have like a lot of different things going because they've got a lot of different interests. Like think manifesting generator, like multi-purpose, multi-dynamic, want a million things going on. Travel bloggers, those are great archetypes for Sagittarius. And then because I just love to bring it in, our celebrity friends who are Sagittarius, my number one BFF, Taylor Swift.
Hi, Taylor, if you're listening, we love you.
We love you, honeybee. Britney Spears is also a Sagittarius. So is Hailey Bieber, Zoe Kravitz, Bill Nye the Science Guy, DJ Khaled, Lucy Liu, Eugene Levy, Jon Stewart, Jay-Z, Nicki Minaj, Tyra Banks, Judd Apatow, Bette Midler, Regina Hall, Brad Pitt, Jonah Hill, and drumroll, Jake Gyllenhaal. That twin flame energy. So if you're wondering, did I mean to sandwich the celebrity list with Taylor Swift and Jake Gyllenhaal? 1,000%.
I did catch that. Yeah,
that was
pretty obvious. Man, I want to be a Sagittarius. I want to be reborn.
I know.
That's some good company.
Sagittarius like seriously stress me out as a Cancer, but love them. Oh, absolutely love them because they just stretch me all the way out.
God, I'm really thinking now, like, who do I know that's a Sagittarius? I'm gonna go through my contact list.
Yeah. I love looking at like celebrities through the lens of what their sun signs are, because I think it does like really help you to get a real idea for what the energy is. Like Taylor is a Sag.
I can
And she
totally see
is
that. Yeah.
savage. She needs to, like, that blunt honesty. Like,
Yeah.
have you listened to the 10-minute version of All Too Well? She is honest.
Again, Taylor, we love you.
Oh, I'm obsessed. And I will continue to refer to her as my best friend until it is true.
Manifest it, baby. Manifest it.
Speaking it into existence.
Yes.
Okay, so then I want to get into my favorite segment, Justice for Sagittarius.
Woo woo.
Something you need to know about me is I am a Libra moon and rising. Social justice is what fuels my soul. And I just can't stand when people are pooping all over a sign for no reason. So, justice for Sagittarius. Sagittarius definitely have a reputation for being a little careless, a little reckless with their lives, their decision making, because they're so spontaneous and just kind of flying by the seat of their pants. Thinking of that gypsy archetype, like never really settled. They can be a little unsettling because they make some like rash decisions and they take risks. And for a lot of us, it doesn't make sense to us, and therefore it makes us feel really sketched out for them. And sometimes it may come across as looking that like they're lacking responsibility or lacking groundedness or lacking sense sometimes. And they can also come across very blunt and harsh, but that's from the honesty that they have. It's coming from a real honest nature that is fueled by their pursuit for wisdom. So they just want to share truths with you out of the love and care and for wanting your well-being and for your expansion as well. They're wanting to lift you up. And just because they are moving so fast, like they don't want to find the way to sugarcoat it necessarily. They just want to be honest with you. And sometimes that can be a tough pill to swallow.
I love that though.
Yes. Oh, I really thrive in it. But I also have a Capricorn stellium. So I really do. I want to cut to the chase. I want to get to the point. So Sagittarius, they really are here to remind us that life exists outside of our comfort zones. And they're reminding us to not just settle for what we know to be true in our lives, but that the human experience is all about stretching ourselves. And that's where the juiciness really lives. That's where the abundance lives. That's where we're really living instead of existing. And that they're here to remind us that life is much more enriching when we experience other cultures and experience other ways of being and thinking and really living open-minded. And they're reminding us that adventure and spontaneity and risk can be exhilarating and can break us out of that hypnotic state that we can sometimes live in when we're just going on autopilot, which so many of us do. And that's where we experience like the meaning that life has for us, is when we break out of that state and we stretch ourselves into experiencing something new. And Sagittarius is encouraging us to dare to see the glass as half full, or to seek the silver lining instead of just being defeated by a tough time. Understanding that everything happens for a purpose, and it's not for us to determine whether it was good or bad, but it's for us to look for the light, for us to like strengthen our muscles and our resiliency to be able to push back and push forward.
Beautiful. Oh,
Justice for Sagittarius.
Justice, absolutely. Got a whole new appreciation now. Seriously.
Yes. Oh, and Sag, they know how to have a good time. If you want to go to an event and you're nervous to go and you don't really know anyone, take a Sag or find a Sag. And you're set. You will know everybody in the room. You will feel so comfortable in that home. If you're a wallflower,
so important for the holidays coming
yourself.
up.
Yes, attach yourself to a Sagittarius, and they will work the room for you.
Oh my goodness. I feel like that should be part of some kind of safety kit. Like if you're an introvert and you have to go out to a party or whatever. Here's what you need to have with you.
Every introvert needs a Sagittarius.
Yes, I love it. I love it. Genius.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay. So now we're going to talk about some key dates to know. So this is the point in time to really like bring out the calendar, bust out your notebook, and just mark these dates down and just bring them into your awareness as you are planning your life, just to know, just to be prepared. Just like you would pull up the weather app to see if it was going to be raining and if you need to grab an umbrella.
Exactly.
Okay, so on December 6th, Mercury enters Capricorn. And this can bring about like a very methodical, strategic, to the point kind of communication. Like you're not really wanting to dance around. And even when it comes down to like anything intellectual, like the way that you're learning, or if you're teaching, you're going to find yourself being drawn to being more to the point. And this also brings in an energy of like diligence and finding a new way to do things, or a better way to do things, and looking at how you can improve it. Capricorn can be a little rebellious in the sense of it wanting to be as efficient as possible in what it's working on. So not just accepting things, like Capricorn's here with something to do, something to accomplish. And with Mercury entering in that space, it's really wanting to look at how can we streamline things? How can we expedite these processes? And there's probably going to be a feeling of an urge to act very swiftly and with confidence, and be more decisive. And this could feel really exciting, like this sort of like, let's get shit done. Let's get these plans in order so that we can execute, because Mars is in retrograde. It will have been in retrograde for a while at this point, and it will still have about a month to go. So it's kind of, we're in this feeling of like not really being motivated to get things done. We're not really motivated to take action, and just kind of like hitting that wall a little bit. So this Mercury and Capricorn energy is going to give us a little bit more of a spark that we've been missing lately, and getting more excited about getting to work and getting things done and being productive, moving the ball forward.
Oh, I love that. I feel like you just like solved my life's questions right now. Seriously.
Done.
This is a big one. Like seriously, just like, and we're just getting started. If this is,
yeah, that's just one day.
Okay. So a lot of questions.
Yes.
On a personal note, I just found out that my moon is in Capricorn.
Ooh, yes.
And someone told me that, and they were like, oh, I totally see that. I'm like, what does that mean? But from what you just described, Capricorn, I can see the parts of me where it's like, yes, I'm very like, can we just get to the point? Can we streamline this? There's got to be a better way, a quicker way, a better, a more efficient way.
Yeah.
And the fact that you went into detail about Mars being retrograde, because I just had this conversation this morning with my mom. I'm like, I have no desire to exercise, to work out, to really like getting out of bed even is like, I have to really hype myself up. And I'm not that way normally. Yeah. But the past, I swear it's like month, I just have had very little motivation to do anything other than get up, make some coffee.
No, Mars station retrograde at the end of October. So it was getting into its retro shade period of gearing up to make that backwards pattern. So it's been a while that we've been under this influence of just like not wanting to take action, like really slowing ourselves down so that we can look back on how we've been approaching life, how we've been interacting with people, if we've been really hot-headed and fighting with people, or maybe we've been sweeping things under the rug, and it's time that we start picking some fights with people so that we can bring stuff up to the surface.
Yes, 100%. That's crazy. Yeah. That is so crazy. And without even, so this is one thing like I really why I wanted to do this type of episode, because it's like so many of us don't realize it. We're not aware of it, but yet it still affects you.
Oh yeah.
That's the thing, right? And you're like, what is going on? Why is my life upside down? Hello.
I can't tell you how many people are like, they'll like scoff at astrology, and then something will be happening and they'll be complaining, and I'll just be like, Mercury is in retrograde, and they're like, God, that explains it. Or they'll be like, they don't look at it. They don't pay any attention to it. They scoff at it. And it's like, it's a full moon. They're like, oh, that's why everything's crazy. I'm like, pick a lane. Are you in or are you out? You know how much easier your life would be if you just like admit that, because you're willing to admit a full moon every once in a while, that maybe there's something to it.
Right. Like I keep saying this, you can't make this shit up.
Yeah.
You really can't. If you just be open, the answers are there.
It is
The answers are
wild.
there. Oh, okay. So Mercury's entering Capricorn. Mercury is the planet of communication. So that makes total sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Urge to act swiftly. I feel like a lot of that too is just also leading us into the new year. Okay. Yes. I love it. Okay.
Absolutely. There are no coincidences. These are things. And like one of the things, like when you start studying transit astrology, is it's so repetitive, like especially when we're talking about these closer, like what we call the inner planets, Mercury, Venus, Mars, they're so close to us. So they make their patterns like annually. So we'll have an annual around this time of year where it's entering Capricorn. And so like there's things where you can start to plan, and then it makes sense. Like this is why like end of the year happens and I'm feeling so motivated to start working on my plans for 2023 for the next year, why I'm getting ready and feeling so motivated to get my budget together, to get my marketing plan together, to start thinking about what it is that I want to accomplish. Or all of a sudden we get this boost of energy of wanting to close out the year really strong.
That makes sense.
There are no coincidences.
Genius.
Okay, so next thing, the very next day on December 7th, we have our full moon in Gemini. So this is the last full moon of the year. Speaking of moons and full moons, I promise you I did not anticipate or connect that when I mentioned a full moon talking about Capricorn. But the vibe is definitely getting out and about and partying until the sun comes up. Gemini is a flirty, sexy, good time gal. She loves to get the girls out. She loves to socialize. She loves to have fun and keep it light and just be footloose and fancy free. A gal about town, if you will. And full moons are really a time for releasing, which can stir up some anxiety or some really stifling feelings of just feeling yourself becoming aware of bumping up against the ceiling, like your glass ceiling, and ready to break through to the other side, or just like finally being aware and having clarity on what's not working for you anymore and what you need to get out of your life so that you can progress to the next level in your life or call in that next goal. So it can bring in that tense, anxious energy. So the ritual that I recommend for you is inspired by my favorite leading ladies, Ally McBeal, Meredith Grey, and Christina Yang. And it is to text your coven and dance it out.
Oh my goodness.
Dance out the stress, turn on the music, and just let yourself move the energy out of you and let it all go. That is my favorite lessons that I've learned from those three gals, is turning on the music, and dancing can be a way that you just release it out of your body and move forward. Once the song ends, once the dance is over, it's done, it's over. You've closed that chapter, and it's as easy as that.
Okay, so question. I'm not sure about the rest of the world, but here in San Diego and in Encinitas in particular, there are often full moon dance parties. Is that a reason why? Is it like every full moon? That's a thing to do. Oh,
you could do dancing it out is just like a release practice that I love to do. Dancing is something that I love to do. Music is for me the root. Music can fix everything for me, but dancing, it gets the energy moving and out of your body. But with full moons are one where we really love to come together. We like to get our coven together. It's social as we're coming together and connecting and talking and supporting each other as we're purging these things out of our lives. New moons with new beginnings are ones that we tend to feel like we want to retreat. It's less of an active energy. It's more of a passive, and we want to go inward because it's about bringing in new things. So we want to tune into ourselves to get in touch with what our desires are. Whereas with the full moon, it is active. We are releasing, we're putting it out there. So getting together with people is really helpful for that. And we feel more drawn to it.
I love that. So question, when is the new moon in this month, in November?
The new moon in November is, I think it's next week on the 23rd, the Sagittarius new moon.
Okay. So I've also been taught like the new moon is when you set your intentions, and then the full moon, you see what has manifested. Is that correct? Or
you can, but you tell, like, when you set an intention on a new moon, it runs for a 6-period point in time. So you'll notice that like there'll be this new moon in Capricorn will happen in December, and then you'll 6 months from now, there will be a full moon in Capricorn. And that's where you'll want to reflect back on what you set your intentions on and what has manifested during that 6-month time period.
See, that was the information I was missing.
Not to say that it can't happen in that time, but that's really like you'll want to look.
Okay.
When there's a full moon, that's one of the practices that I love to do. Just to anchor in gratitude and to celebrate the wins along the way, because a lot of times we have a habit of looking at what the big picture was and we forget all the little wins that we've had. So we don't see the progress. We aren't watching the needle moving forward. We're just noticing that it hasn't arrived at the destination yet.
Very true.
So when you get into this practice of a full moon, looking back, like I'll pull out my planner, I pull out my calendar, and I look back at everything that's happened. I'll be like, cool.
That makes so much more sense. Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I hope that this is all being very helpful for people. I'm hoping that we're having some aha moments.
I know I am.
Oh, okay. So then on December 9th, we have Venus enters Capricorn. And this is really bringing an energy of like cuffing season just got serious.
Oh, no.
So
we will return and talk about this in our next episode.
Oh my gosh. Like this is the moment where like engagements seem like a really good idea for a Christmas present. Like that's really the energy coming through here. All of a sudden, like you're catching feelings for that situationship. It is.
God, I love that.
Venus is our.
You missed that situationship. Yeah.
Those G-dang situationships, they're getting serious. So we have Venus, the planet of love and romance. It's Venus to me is just peak rom-com energy. I think Jupiter is my favorite planet, but Venus is really close up there. Which again makes sense. Libra moon and rising.
Absolutely.
So Venus, rom-com planet, is entering the sign of Capricorn, which is about responsibility. It's about structure. It is serious. It is being very grounded. And so wherever you're at romantically, either this is going to be a moment, like if you're single, that you're starting to think, it would be really nice to have a partner. I'm going to be more serious about focusing on where I'm putting my energy, how I'm approaching being open. Is my taxi light on or off? Which I don't know if that makes sense for people.
It totally does.
Constantly. It's starting to look like that. And if you're in relationship, it's going to be looking at your relationship and thinking, how can we progress and go to that next step? How can we get deeper in our relationship? How can I nurture this to feel more secure, more safe, and really check in that way, like bringing that security and that groundedness. Are we both feeling supported with each other? Are we showing up in a safe way for each other? And really kind of doing those sorts of excavations to it. But yeah, cuffing season just got serious.
Just on a side note, I had never heard of cuffing season before.
Oh, what?
In my 40 plus years on this planet until last year. I was like, what is this? What? I didn't even, I was like, cupping? And I'm like, no, cuffing. I'm like, what is that?
Oh man. No, we like what we're
It's a real
heading
thing.
into with it is a very real
Yes.
thing. Like you are going to be having cuffing season that is going to be coming with Netflix chill and let's define the relationship.
I do feel
Netflix
like
chill DTR.
I do feel like in my defense, growing up in California, cuffing season isn't so important because it doesn't get cold here. Like
That's true.
my East Coast friends are like, no, it's serious. You don't want to be home cold. You want someone to snuggle up with and be warm. I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
I can honestly say that has never been farther from the truth for me. Like I get wanting to be home and curled up and not wanting to leave.
Yes.
But I've never actually had the experience where I'm like, I wish there was another person here.
Again, that will be our next episode.
Oh, but it's so nice.
Oh my God. Seriously.
All right. Next up, December 20th, Jupiter enters Aries. And this is all about personal expression. We are getting into a season in your life where you are looking at progressing yourself, self-teaching, self-learning, looking at your self-worth, figuring out how you can really turn your natural gifts and talents into cash money for you. How can you turn your natural gifts into your fame and fortune? How can you cash in on that lottery ticket for yourself? And it's really like, how can I create passion-based business? How can I create more expansion for myself? That's really the energy. And Jupiter has been in Pisces, which is an extraordinarily different energy. So it can kind of feel a little disarming. We've over this year kind of played back and forth as Jupiter was in Aries, and then it retrograded back into Pisces. And so now it's moving back into Aries. So it's been kind of like a little jostling a little bit this year. So it's going to feel a little bit like coming out of a deep meditation, then all of a sudden feeling this overwhelming pull to take action on the things that you absolutely love. So if you've been like meditating or thinking about launching a business or that like going all in on that hobby, I was talking to a client of mine the other day who she is just allowing herself now to venture into being an artist, which has been a lifelong desire of hers. But you know, she's now in her 70s, but in her 50s, she enrolled in art school and she started going into, she graduated from art school, but she never really did anything with it until she was in her late 60s and finally started to produce her art and actually allow herself to identify as an artist and nurture that skill and that passion that she has, and creating art and having people buy it. Like actually
I
allowing
love
yourself to do that. And that's the Jupiter in Aries energy that we're going to be seeing. And so something to like just be aware of is that there can be some feelings of friction during this time, especially as we're moving straight into it, because we're coming from a very like peaceful, serene, more altruistic, more like humanity focused energy into coming very singular. Aries is the beginning of the zodiac calendar. We look at it as like the fool or the infant. It's very very kind of hot-headed. Aries is also like the god of war. So it's very protective over itself and what it believes to be true and what it wants. And it's willing to fight anyone who comes close to it. So yeah, so you'll want to be noticing like if you're being like a little too touchy or a little too aggressive. And it's also just something to keep an eye out socially as well. Not, like very rarely are things ever like do or die. So when there are frustrations that are coming up, like remembering and reminding yourself that that emotion that you're feeling is a temporary emotion and that you can move through it as quickly as you want to, but you have to bring yourself into acknowledging that I'm feeling really frustrated right now. This is not do or die. I can scale it back. Like, let me get some perspective and disassociate from this moment so that I can get some perspective.
Love that.
but have fun with it. Like, I love the energy of Jupiter in Aries, and just like this energy where people are just going to finally get this added motivation to create magnificence for themselves, to lose the like that feeling that we get of feeling like a little guilt or shame from admitting that I want to be wealthy. I want to be doing something that is like fulfilling my passion and putting myself first and my well-being first. And I'm excited to see people getting into that energy.
I love that. Okay, quick question. You just mentioned that Jupiter went retrograde into Pisces, and now it's moving forward again back into Aries because it was there before Pisces.
Yeah.
Okay. So then when we say that Mercury is retrograding into Capricorn, I'm getting confused now. Was it just in the same space it was before as well, or does it move faster and it's not the same
It moves
thing?
faster, but it does kind of the same thing. So like today, actually, Mercury moved into Sagittarius. So what it'll do is at the beginning of December, it will move into Capricorn. And then depending on how far it gets through when it goes into its retrograde pattern, it will retrograde back into Sagittarius for a hot second, and then it'll come back into Capricorn.
Oh, I never thought of that that it actually goes back and forth. But that does make sense. That's the retrograde.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it depends on how far it's progressed through the sign, how much time it spends in another sign, like its previous sign. So yeah, it's just like looking at the charts to see how far it progresses back and forth. But yeah, it'll do a quick dip back. So like with our last Mercury retrograde that we had, it went back and forth between Virgo and Leo.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That explains a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it does like a little like we'll enter in and then we'll go back and then we'll finish out here.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, cool.
Okay, so then on December 22nd, Capricorn season begins. So Capricorn is an earth sign, cardinal energy, and it's got a negative polarity. So this is really like it's bringing the vibe of being very serious, very responsible, very self-reliant and independent, really rooted in the reality on the physical realm, really grounded into what is happening here on earth. And it's really driven to get shit done. It's a really like Capricorn really like brings a very nose to the grindstone kind of vibe. And it enjoys the focus of like diligent and hard work because it creating like strategic plans. It loves to like, it thrives in that, like looking at how you can piece the whole puzzle together. Like project managers thrive. They're Capricorns to the very core. It's a very, very practical, very pragmatic. And it lives for professional success because this is where it gets a sense of purpose.
God, that's me.
So that Capricorn moon, honey.
Yeah, gets me in trouble. So I feel like because my son is Libra, like that, and I'm curious now where I square, if that's a thing. Can you square with your moon? Okay, so maybe I'm squaring my moon, but like I feel like that's a constant conflict. Like the Libra part of me wants to like just enjoy the beauty and be free and not have a care in the world. And the Capricorn part of me is like, no, we need a plan. What's the plan? Where are we going? How's this looking?
Oh yeah. Nope, that 1000%. I'm a Cancer Sun, Cancer Mercury. And my Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune are all in Capricorn. They are opposing each other.
Wow. That sounds like a lot. That sounds very heavy.
It has been at times. So there's been like an internal war of like me wanting to be like at home and in my feelings and like being like, I feel as my statement, and then being like, okay, but we don't have time for feelings.
Damn.
That's slowing us down.
Crack that whip on yourself. Oh my
Yeah,
God. Okay.
and then my Libra moon and rising is right in there and like trying to intervene and be like, okay, but no, let's see if we can find a middle ground. Can everyone be
Yes.
happy? I've got like a mediator in between me.
Oh, that's so crazy.
So
Again,
if you've
can't make
ever
this shit up.
wondered, you can't. If you've ever wondered why, like this time of year, we've got the end of the year ending, we've got the year ending, we've got a new year coming, and everyone wants to set their New Year's resolutions and thinking that, you know, we're going to finish out this year semi-strong, or maybe we're just going to wipe it out, clean slate next year. It is because this happens in Capricorn.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah. And it's like, if you like look over, we have so much fun, like November through the first half of December, we have so much fun, like being social, being out. And then we give ourselves the space to be with our family and get through Christmas. But then there is a point in time, like even in that like week between, or that time period that no one knows what day it is in between Christmas and New Year's. But there's always that point in time during that week where we're kind of like itching to just like stop being on this break and like wanting to like, okay, we need to get going and like get back to work.
Yes.
Because Capricorn can't sit still for very long. Like it wants to start, it wants to use that week to clean the house, take Christmas down, start doing something that is productive, because it wants to accomplish something. It has to feel a sense of purpose and moving forward. And it wants things to be clean and organized. And right, it wants to get the ball rolling. We can't just sit around. We've been partying for the last month.
Exactly. Trying to get back to work.
Exactly. And then it feels like such a good idea to like start hitting the gym and like getting all these things in place. And then we fall off the track because we've lost that steam of Capricorn.
Man. We need to learn this like somewhere in school, like in grade school, so we stop like we start setting ourselves up for success and not into the patterns.
I firmly believe that when your child is born, you should be handed your child and their human design chart.
Yes, 100%.
And then
100%.
Astrology should be a course in school where it's you're learning like math, and then what happens during Mercury retrograde, what happens for your Saturn. Good Lord, someone should tell us what happens with our Saturn chart.
Yes. Oh my God. This is why I love you. We're so on the same path here. 100%.
Okay, so then on December 23rd, we have the new moon in Capricorn. And if you are somebody who wants to do New Year's resolutions, this is the moon energy to work with. The new moon is where we set our intentions. We think about what it is that we want to create in this world. New moons were literally how farmers used to plan when to plant the seeds, because the sky is dark, which represents fertile soil.
Oh, wow.
So that's like how farmers used to map when to like plant things and like when to like turn the crops and whatever. I'm clearly not a farmer. But, like,
kill the soil, something like that. Yeah. I don't know.
I
have one plant still alive. Yeah, I can't help you.
You're a farmer, as far as I'm concerned. How's that green thumb? Must be nice. So yeah, like if you look up at the sky, you don't see the moon. The moon, it's completely black up there. It is a complete blank slate. You have a blank canvas in front of you. What is it that you want to create for yourself? And with the energy of Capricorn, it's going to give you this boost of energy to really allow yourself to think what is possible and start to get excited about the plan to get there. And really paying attention to like, not just like, oh, this would be really nice to have, but like really allowing yourself to believe that not only would this be nice to have, I'm going to have it because I'm going to follow a plan and I'm going to accomplish it.
Amen.
Yeah.
Bring it.
So that is the real energy to get your New Year's goals in place and start thinking about them, and then start showing up with them. Like the next day, December 24th, Christmas Eve, start doing things and living your life like you've already accomplished that intention that you've just set for yourself, and keep showing up every single day as that person.
I love that. And I feel like that could be another episode in itself. But for time's sake, and not to have to wait, using, like, again, because I feel like this is your field of genius as well. Like, what are some things we can do to do that? Like, what does that look like? Like, it's one thing to say, okay, well, I'm living like I won the lottery now, but I haven't.
So one of my absolute favorite tools, it's something that I learned from Bob Proctor, which is what he called auto suggestion. So writing out your goal in a present tense statement, starting with, I am so happy and grateful that now, and then whatever that statement is, and then voice record it. Voice record yourself saying it. And it can feel really uncomfortable the first time that you do it, but you're going to be the only one listening to it. So just lean into it. There is so much power in hearing your own voice telling you that you've accomplished this goal. And then what you're going to do is, for like 10 minutes every morning and every evening, you're going to listen to that statement. And it's called auto suggestion. So it's listening to yourself, repeat it over and over and over again, because that's how you form your paradigms. That's how your subconscious mind creates these new realities and believes what can be true. So your subconscious mind is has an algorithm that it sorts through all this information. And it has like what we call a model of the world. And your model of the world can shift in two different ways. The first one is by having like an emotional jolt, which is usually something like losing your job or when the pandemic hit. And it's something that forces us to have to shift our beliefs and our way of being by a means that's outside of our control. So it elicits some sort of extreme emotional response. Yeah. So the other way to do it is through repetition and through things like coaching techniques that can help to support you in keeping in alignment with it, and like reprogramming it to believe something new so that you can just adopt it. So if you are writing out this idea in the present tense, you've already accomplished it, and see yourself accomplishing it so that you can get that emotional response. Because there's 3 steps to creating a new identity or a new paradigm for yourself. And the first step in that is accepting this new idea or belief or behavior or existence to be true. So your goal, believe it can happen, accept that it can happen. And we're really good at as human beings. Most of us, like 95% of us at least, won't follow through with steps 2 or 3. We'll just stop at step 1 because I've got my goal. I've written it down there. And this is also why our New Year's resolutions never stick. We write out our goal, what our New Year's resolution is, but we don't get emotionally involved in it. And so then we don't have the motivation to commit to the aligned action every single day. Something happens where we don't make it to the gym, and then it's like, oh, well, guess that's not happening for me. But when you accept that new idea, you get yourself emotionally involved. Like you can feel it. You are so into accomplishing that goal. You may not know how you're going to accomplish it, but you're so stinking excited and invested in accomplishing it that you know you will figure out a way to do it no matter what. And that motivates you to step 3, which is taking aligned action every single day. And that action creates momentum, which evokes the universal laws into making it happen, because you are showing up with that energy of it's going to happen because it has to happen because I want it and I'm living it. It has to come true now. So that's the big difference. If you aren't emotionally involved, you're not going to be that committed to your goal. Something will come up and you'll be like, all right, well, then it wasn't meant to be.
That's so crazy. I feel like so much of, at least the coaching that I've been exposed to, they talk about step 1 and then they immediately jump to step 3, but I've never heard anyone talk about step 2, the emotional part of it. It's just like, okay, write down what you want to achieve, see yourself there, and then go start doing, mainly doing, not even being, but doing the things to align yourself.
And the problem with that is that you can't get aligned with the actions, because then you're going to have that part of your subconscious mind swooping in and being like, hey, this isn't you. This doesn't feel right. This is a facade. This is when imposter syndrome comes in and starts saying, you can't have this. This is outside of you. You're not worthy. You're not enough. This is outside of our comfort zone. And you get all those fears and doubts, and all the hairy, scary stuff starts coming up, because there is, every time that you set a new goal for yourself, you're stretching your subconscious, because you're getting out of your comfort zone. You're trying to get it somewhere that it doesn't know that it can go. And your subconscious job is purely to keep you safe. And the only way to do that is to go based on past beliefs. It does not actually know that you are physically experiencing something, or if you are imagining something. So that's where you can trick it. And that's where listening to that auto suggestion and really getting emotionally involved in it can make it, that's like your way of tricking your subconscious mind into experiencing it before you've experienced it. So then when you start taking the aligned action, it doesn't feel like you're a fraud, because your nervous system, your subconscious, has experienced it already.
Wow. That is freaking huge. Seriously. Wow. Okay. So December. Wow. Okay. So December 23rd is the day. Do not wait until the 31st. December 23rd.
December 23rd. Get those resolutions down, plant those seeds, and then start showing up. Like writing your goal down and doing that auto, like recording your voice and starting to listen to it for 10 minutes at night. I am not kidding you. I will listen to my auto suggest. Like, this is something I do for myself as well. And I listen to it. I wake up in the morning and I'm listening to my auto suggestion for probably half an hour. This morning, I think I listened to it for a whole hour. Wow. I'm just so excited about it. It gets me jazzed and I get going. And then in the evenings, I have an alarm on my phone to remind me so that I don't miss a day, because otherwise life happens, right? And I'm so committed to it that I know that sometimes I need the reminder. So I put up those safeguards for myself. So I have an alarm in my phone in the morning and in the evening that reminds me to listen to my big juicy goal.
I love that.
And so I listen to it. I will listen to it for at least 10 minutes. More often than not, morning and night, I'm listening to it for 30 plus minutes.
Wow.
It's my favorite song.
Done. Yes. It's going to be mine now too.
Yep. It's just so, and then you'll find yourself just like through the day, just, I'm so happy and grateful now that I ... whatever the goal is. And it's like, yes, I am.
I love that. Yes, exactly.
And just think about that. Like, if you hear it, like, we all know what it's like. We've all had that experience where like we're told that like we can't have something, we can't do something. We hear it over and over as kids. And we know what that feels like to hear that and how it impacts us. So think about how impactful it'll be if you are telling yourself that you can and you will and you do have something else.
Yes. Oh, I love it. That just makes me feel all warm and cozy inside. Perfect.
Yay!
That was a huge bonus, people. I hope you save this, rewind, listen to it again.
Yes. I mean, and not to plug my business, but
seriously, this is her one of her many zones of geniuses. So if you want more information on this, if you want to talk to Heather directly, please, by all means, check the show notes. Information is there to direct you to this amazing, powerful woman. If you are feeling called, do not hesitate.
This is just a little touch of what we'll do together.
Seriously. Oh.
We're out here changing lives.
100%.
Yeah. To round it out, December 29th, Mercury retrograde begins. Do not be alarmed. Bring your heart rates down, bring that pulse down, take some deep breaths.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Mercury retrograde is not something to fear. It is something to embrace. I've learned to love Mercury retrograde. I look forward to it even. So anytime that a planet goes retrograde, what is happening is it's migrating in a backwards pattern. It's retracing its steps. That's all it's doing. I look at it as a cosmic second chance.
I love that.
So all that's happening is it's just going back and it's giving us a moment where it's telling us, slow it down. Be aware of what's going on. Look at your relationship with social media. Look at your relationship with communication and how you communicate with others, how you are processing information, how you're learning and digesting information, and just bring some awareness to it and think about if you are honoring your relationships or your boundaries that you would like to have, or if you need to look back at things. This is a point in time where Mercury retrograde stirs up a lot of X's and we get a lot of you up texts. This is a moment for you to think, is this a relationship I want to revisit? If you are ever getting a text from an ex, look at where Mercury is. Is it retrograde or is it direct? And then decide whether you want to, and then decide whether you want to respond. Because sometimes it can be, yes, this is a relationship that you want to revisit and this is a second chance, but it might be the fact that you have not learned a lesson that you're supposed to learn from that relationship. And instead of going back into it, this is a reminder of what it is that you needed to learn.
Love that.
Yeah. Could be with friendships too, where you have an old friend who comes creeping back into your life. And that's what it is. Mercury retrograde isn't a time to be active and moving forward and making decisions. It's a time to just collect the pieces of the puzzle. Figure out what is trying to come up for you, what lessons you can learn, like anything that has a re before it, retry, retake, retrace, reflect. Those are all things to like look at, revisit. Those are all things to look at and process and just be like, get curious, think about it.
That's a really good way of putting it. Get curious. I love that.
Oh, get curious is like, I'm going to get it tattooed on me.
That's
I say it constantly.
Yes.
Just get curious.
Ask
That's
questions.
all this is. Yeah. It's, I'm just like harping on Bob Proctor right now. But that's like, that was like his thing, was talking about people thinking, because he really talked about the subconscious mind, and the role that the conscious and the subconscious play in our lives. And the fact that most of us just kind of like go through life on autopilot, just accepting what is and not really thinking, not working that brain and stretching it in any sort of way, or asking questions or getting curious. So those are things that I'm constantly saying to myself and to clients, let's get curious about that. Ask questions, and just, bring awareness to it, think about it, process it, give yourself some space. It's all a part of the, your life is like a big fact-finding mission. You're a detective.
Yes.
If we spent
100%.
as much time being faux CIA agents looking up, our friends' boyfriends or objects of their affection, and we channeled that energy into our own lives and getting curious and excavating information in that way, we would be so much farther ahead in our lives and healing and growing and figuring out what it is that we actually want to create in our lives. So don't be afraid of Mercury retrograde. Embrace the learning that's going to come with it, because it is going to help you really smooth out your lives. You'll spill less water. Just to bring it back there. You'll be a wiser, more well-rounded, grounded person on the other side of it. But you just have to give yourself the opportunity, gift yourself slowing down and getting curious.
Yeah.
Somewhere I will tattoo "get curious" on myself.
Just on your forehead. I will say, I don't even know how long it's been now, but at least a year or two, when I had a good friend explain to me Mercury retrograde, because she was so tired of me freaking out every time I heard it was coming around. She was like, look, it's an opportunity. It's just that. It's an opportunity to reflect. It's an opportunity for things to come up that haven't been resolved. All the reads you talked about. And I really took that as a lesson where it's okay, if I'm afraid of it, then I know somewhere there's some things I haven't resolved and they're going to pop up. So I get to take this time, however long it is, to work through them, to become aware of them and start being curious, right?
Yeah.
I also love hearing when people say, you know, don't sign any contracts, don't do anything new, right? My human design coach has always said, still revert back to your strategy and authority. Like, do not go into it quickly, but sometimes you may have, like, your time frame might be during that window, and so you don't want to miss something, right? Or whatever, because of Mercury retrograde. Don't let it stop you, but take that time to take that extra beat.
Absolutely. Give yourself rushing. The space.
Yeah.
That is something that I have really encouraged people to do, is asking the question. Like, just because someone says you have to make a decision right now or in a certain time frame, you would be shocked that if you asked if it was possible for an extension,
yes,
how many times that they will say yes, because more often than not, a timeline, like even when it comes time to submitting your taxes, there's always a grace period in that.
Yeah.
You will be so hard pressed to find a situation where it is absolutely zero, but we're so programmed and so used to someone saying, this is the due date, and then us being like, okay, and then just accepting it instead of being like, listen, that's not going to work for me. Is there any way that we can extend it? Like, even just give me an extra 24 hours so I can really sit with it and give yourself the gift of that. Like, pretend you're in high school again and you forgot that an assignment was due. We were afraid to ask for extensions in high school.
That is true. Again, the things we are fearless about when we're young, and somehow as adults, we feel like, oh, that's not available to me now anymore.
Yeah. Allow yourself to just ask. The worst thing that's going to happen is a no.
Exactly.
And that's really not that bad.
No.
It's just a word.
Mic drop. So many pearls of wisdom during this call. Oh my God. I love it. I mean, and this is the whole point. It's like, you never know what's going to come up, right? This could have been a pretty, it couldn't have been stagnant if we wanted it to, but it could have been just a very generic, here are the dates, here's this, here's that. But there's so much more to dive into.
Oh, it's so much more dynamic and exciting.
Yes. Oh my God. Beauty. Okay, so Mercury retrograde, 29th. Brace yourself, get ready.
Yeah, just take a deep breath and be like, okay, slowing down to speed up.
I love that. So how does that, what's the question here? How does that affect the Capricorn energy?
Glad that you asked that, because it can be a little frustrating for our little Capricorn friend. But it's Capricorn really likes structure. It really likes pragmatism. So if you are able to set yourself up and really take a look at the structures in your life and how you can support yourself to slow down and to give yourself space to be more flexible, or to give yourself space to be able to make decisions in a nicer way, like looking ahead at your calendar, making sure that you only have so many meetings scheduled in one day instead of like having back to back meetings where you're going to feel so exhausted, or really stacking things up. Bringing that diligence into the way that you slow down and the way that you are being productive, and really looking at those structures and systems that you have. Maybe you have too many. It is a real thing to have too many systems and structures in place where it just gets cluttered. But it's also possible to not have enough. There is a sweet spot in there. And so taking this opportunity to look at what it is that exists for you so that you can feel supported.
I love that.
And listening to your body.
That makes sense. That is a good roadmap.
Yeah.
Man. Oh, Heather. Gosh. Is
I
that
hope
it? Is that
everyone
how
had as
we?
much fun. Yeah, I think so.
Seriously. Oh my gosh.
I hope everyone
Gosh.
had as much fun as we did.
Seriously. I mean, I literally took us to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pages of notes.
Get out.
I'm gonna
Oh,
listen to
I
this
love
again for things that I
that.
missed.
That fills my whole heart.
Seriously, you're just amazing.
Oh,
Thank you so much for doing
You're
this.
amazing. This was so fun. Thank you so much for inviting me. And I'm so happy that we get to do this every single month.
I know. It's going to be exciting. I can't wait for January. Stay present. Stay present.
Generous present moment. Generous present moment.
See? Oh my gosh. I'm going to get that tattooed somewhere on me. I don't know where.
I'm going to, on one wrist, I'll get curious, and then generous present moment on the other. And I will just stand here solidarity. Every time, because I'm a hand talker as well. So whatever hand is coming up is this message that you need to receive.
I love it. Yes. Oh my gosh. Well, this has been incredible. Thank you so much for your time, your wisdom, your brain power, your energy, all of it. I really hope everyone out there in the world who's watching and listening to this, that, like what Heather said, I hope you could feel the energy and you also got what you needed from this, and you feel empowered and ready to go into the holiday season, go into cuffing season, go into the new year, fully supported.
Make sure you are being wise about who you are entering cuffing season with, because it's gonna get serious.
Yes. And pause before you return those ex texts. So many nuggets, oh my gosh. We're recording this. I don't know what day it is at this point. I'm like so in the thick of it. It's November 17th. We're recording this. This just means so much to me. I really, Heather, I love you. I hope that you can feel my heart through Zoom. And you know what this means to me. Seriously. Thank you so much. I cannot wait for this to air.
I am so excited, and I absolutely love and adore you. I am so grateful that I get to call you my friend, and I'm so grateful that you created this space for us.
Absolutely. For us. Yes, 100%. So as I said before, everything will be in the show notes. Please, if you're feeling called, if you have questions, if you want to go deeper into your astrology, into human design, and just getting to know Heather, period. This is your invitation. I encourage you, please connect, because she is a wealth of knowledge and such a beautiful healer and just all around cool teacher and cool chick. So yeah, you need some of this in your life. And we will be back here for Astro Love, the official name. I didn't want to say it earlier because I still had a couple roaming around in my head, but I feel like after this, like Astro Love, because we're giving love.
Love it.
We're giving love.
It's all love.
Yes, it's 100% love and light, and justice for SAG.
If anyone out there is a Bravo fan, please let me know if that I can't say or hear love and light without thinking of Danielle Staub, and it sends a spark of energy through me.
Love and light.
So if you feel called to share that the name Danielle Staub or love and light has the same connection with you, please slide into my DM so we can discuss.
Hashtag yes. All right, everyone. We will see you next month. Same time, same channel, same bat channel, all the jazz. Have a magnificent December, a magnificent holiday, whatever you celebrate. We love you, and we'll see you soon. Bye.